Welcome to another in the series, Sip and Chat, a place where we talk about the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. It's our pleasure this afternoon to be coming into your homes and to be talking about the goodness of the Lord. Welcome to another in the series, Sip and Chat, a place where we examine life issues, whether they be social, financial, emotional, whatever they are. We discuss it here at Sip and Chat. It is our pleasure to be in your homes another Sunday afternoon, looking on what are the issues of life and, just helping us to become stronger in managing those issues. Well, I have with us today one of my good guests. And next year, in fact, tomorrow, I keep saying next year, but it's actually next week, will be our 1 year anniversary. And Shanice has been with me from the inception, and you can't miss that show next week because we're going to be speaking about the unearthing of Sip and a Chat. But today we want to talk about a very, very important issue, an issue that many people walk around with daily, the issue of forgiveness. We laugh about it now, but it is just something that is almost like a prison. Forgiveness speaks about an emotional response to a situation. It means giving up the suffering of the past or the present and being willing to forge ahead for greater potential of inner freedom. And that is where we want to start today. This whole um, concept of being released from within.
Yes.
A lot of people speak with their mouth that, listen, I've gotten over this issue, I'm moving beyond, but inside they are so wrapped up in this issue of bitterness and anger. And even as we come into a new year, January is gone. We're into the second month of the year already. There are other persons who carried over hate and bitterness and anger into 2022. Talk to us a little bit, Shanice. Again, welcome to the show. You're almost like one of my favorite hosts in that we started from the beginning.
Yes.
But talk to us a little bit about your understanding of what forgiveness is and why is it important.
I mean, forgiveness to people mean different things. Different people take it differently. For me, forgiveness takes time and it takes patience. It is about extending mercy and also receiving mercy because forgiveness is not one way.
That's important.
Yeah, because
right?
you have to forgive people, and guess what? People have to forgive you.
Right.
So forgiveness for me, it's like a load that at some point you must put it down.
It's very important that you say that because a lot of people believe that when we encourage forgiveness, we are being weak. But it is said that forgiveness liberates the soul, it removes fear, and that is why it's such a powerful tool. That's what Nelson Mandela says. And if there's anybody who can talk about forgiveness with any kind of truth and so on, it would be Nelson Mandela, having been in prison for so long. And many would say, so he was imprisoned without
A cause.
well, for a cause, but for unjust reasons,
Right.
But definitely for a cause. Now, one of the first things that I want to say to persons is when you are hurt, what is the first step to forgiveness?
For me, when I'm hurt, I have to take into retrospect and talk to myself. And
No, that's very important because that's exactly where I want to start. A lot of people don't understand that forgiveness actually starts with them.
Yes.
So you might say, but what she said, it means that for us to forgive, even if we're hurt by someone, the first thing to do is to acknowledge that we're hurting.
Yes.
That
something is wrong.
Something is wrong.
And I like where you're going, because when you acknowledge that something is wrong, there's a prison door that is coming. So are you going to stay behind that prison door or are you going to move forward? Because what people fail to understand is that forgiveness opens the door for your freedom.
Exactly so. It was this gentleman who said to forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover that the prisoner was you.
Amen.
I used to say to people, I think about it and, sometimes people say, where do you get this wisdom from or where people get wisdom from? But I can say that my wisdom comes from the Lord.
Yes.
Sometimes there are moments when you just sit back in your situation and you're reflecting on something that happens.
Yes.
And sometimes somebody does you something right and you go home and you mulch it over, you crush it over, you especially, you work on it, because you almost feel entitled to
Yes.
be angry.
Yes, yes, yes. Especially when you know they wronged you.
Especially when you know that they wronged you. But this is where I want our viewers to understand. When you are emotionally upset with someone for something, guess what? That person is probably at their home sipping some tea,
Laughing,
wine,
forgetting.
laughing, enjoying themselves and their family. When you're going home, you throw the pot, you lick down this, you're upset, you're mad.
And it just brings me back. You see, biblical principles are to be our guide. It said Satan comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And when that situation happening, and as you said, the person rightfully gone home, probably eating, dining, laughing,
Right.
chatting, and Satan steal your joy because guess what? You are locked up with that situation, and that person gone home comfortable, and where is your joy? Pondering. This is what I want people to understand. The minute you keep pondering over a situation, it is harder for you to forget it. Why? You go over it because it
Processing.
happened. It may happen last year. It may have happened this week. It could have happened this morning. But guess what? The fact that you keep thinking about it, playing over back that conversation, even calling 2 or 3 people to talk about it to plead your cause.
Because you're embracing it.
Oh,
And that is
God.
what we want our viewers to understand. When you hug up,
Yes.
when you embrace anger and said, as long as I live, some of us even met the cross,
Done.
as long as I live, I will never talk back to that person. I would never go to their house. I would never go back to that church. Guess what? The only person who is trapped is you.
Yes.
Because no, guess what you have to do? You might have to adjust your whole lifestyle, because if it is a person and they sit at a certain place in your office or
You're
wherever
not
they are,
walking that
you're not
route.
walking that route.
You're not giving no. I know that eye contact, I not looking, me not seeing you.
You're not
That
seeing-
was me then.
Right.
Thank
You're
God
not
for
looking in that
Jesus.
person's direction. And you will have to adjust your entire lifestyle while that person is, going about
Living.
their own business. So that is the first step to forgiveness. That emotional turmoil inside of you is saying to yourself, listen, I am upset about this. I am hurt about this. And this goes to any kind of forgiveness, whether it be personal, whether it with your spouse, whoever it is. You need to first confront it. Now we're going to deal with it afterwards if you decide, well, I want to go my way, you go your way. But at first, you must forgive. Accept step one, accept that you're hurting.
And the truth is, sometimes we have to really stop and try and put ourselves in other people's shoes.
We're going to get to that.
Oh, glory.
No, so once we acknowledge that we're hurting, yes, this thing is tearing me up inside. I mean, when you listen to some of the songs, for example, some of these love songs, right? We're Christians, we know love songs.
We know it.
And you hear them reaching out, to somebody to try to connect. Even the voice, you can see that the hurt is in these songs, right? Now, step two is to consider what the hurt and the pain, how the pain has affected you.
Right.
Some people focus on something that's not real.
True. Some things you imagine, something you perceive and conceive wrongly.
So incorrectly. So, for example, I am passing you, right? And you might have said hello to me, and I honestly didn't hear. But in your heart, you are saying that I heard when you said hello. No, because you now perceive that, this person thinks that they're better than you, and so on and so on. You begin to build up this bitterness and say, as long as I live and I come to this place, I will never say hello. Then I'm the poor person. As far as they know, you and them are chummy.
And if we truly checking ourselves, we would say, some man think it, so is he.
That is so right. So what we have to do, first of all, is acknowledge that we're hurt. Consider what is it that is causing us this discomfort.
Yes.
Why am I real? Because sometimes, as Shanique said, sometimes these kinds of hurt is imagined.
Yes.
They are perceived. They're not real. And you know what I want to also say to our viewers who are watching this afternoon? There are some persons who their sole purpose is to stir up this kind of situation.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So once we acknowledge we're hurting, we consider what is it that we're hurting about. We have to accept it.
Yes.
We confront the person and then and say to them, you know what? I just want to tell the truth. I'm really so mad with you.
Yes.
I find this happen a lot with spouse, right? For
Yes.
example, I mean, so everybody, some of the features that we say are mostly men, sometimes you have females as well who exhibit these features.
Yes.
But I know that there are some of our viewers who are saying, boy, she down my street.
Extreme.
Sometimes you have a spouse, right? And they might have done something that you found quite offensive, you're upset about it, and so on.
True.
And you hold it on for 2 days, even probably like a week or so.
Week.
Let us be real, because a lot of people say, oh, we never quarrel or we never vex. Okay,
No,
I'm so
that's
happy for those couples. Congratulations. But then there are some real couples who are real people who have these issues. So when you go back to your spouse now and said, oh, by the way, I want to talk to you about something, and he's like, what?
Yes.
He's like, what? And you said, do you remember yesterday or last week when you said so and so? I was so upset. He's like, what?
Why were you upset?
About what? And guess what? You are so hurt when we just want to hug you and say, babes, let's move on. You're like, oh, no, 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 no. I want to talk about this.
I want to
get
ash it out.
Right. And that's probably when that spouse is going to be upset.
Yes.
Because as far as he knows,
That was gone long time.
that was gone. And there was no grounds.
Issue.
There was no issue. And so even in terms of when we talk about keeping grudge or developing this malice and turmoil inside, before you even go down that street, is there a need?
And one thing I want to point out, I think it was one of my bosses that said to me, be positive.
Mm-hmm.
Let your mind think positive first. And that is how we will get rid of the issues that would have led to you having to ask for forgiveness or to even receive it.
Forgiveness. I learned something the other day while I was at a wedding. I think it was Pastor Janet Edwards was sharing something. And she said, she remembered when she was a young lady. I think she's probably married about 30 years now.
Okay.
And she was saying that when she got married, one of the things that has really helped her marriage all this time is that she was warned to always be mindful of this lady that has a way of popping up in relationships.
Yes, I heard it.
So of course, everybody bracing up, to hear who is this lady. And I was popping up too because I want to know this lady.
I want to learn, right?
I want to learn, right? And then she said that the man who counseled her said to her, always be careful of this lady. Her name is Misunderstanding.
True.
And I was like, wow, so powerful. So many persons today are locked in this turmoil, or are locked in this prison of unforgiveness because of this lady.
Understanding.
To all our viewers today, check yourself before you wreck yourself.
And watch out for the lady called misunderstanding, not only in your marriages, but in your life, at work, at school, wherever you go, even in church. Look out for misunderstanding because she's real.
Yeah, she's everywhere.
Yes. Yes.
She is everywhere. And so one of the things before we go on to, so we have discussed step 1, step 2, step 3. One of the things that I want to say to us is that whenever we feel this discomfort, this ease, I am recommending that the first thing that we do whenever it is possible is to get some clarity.
Yes.
Get some clarity. Maybe at a time when you felt like you were slighted or something happened, you might not have the chance to I wouldn't say confront, just to engage. You have to be careful of the words, not to confront, but to engage and to say to somebody, I'm not sure if I'm understanding properly, but yesterday, like while I was passing, I know probably you're in a rush, but I did say hi, so I'm not sure if you actually heard me. But I want to know that I love you. We have to change. Sometimes we have to defy the odds and do something as a bigger person.
Something's crazy to let the word of God comes alive that says love covers a multitude of sins.
Exactly.
How is it going to happen when I assume something? I don't come to you to talk about it and I just go on. It's like Jacob running from Esau all his life. And then when he checked it out, he wanted to go back to his home when God said, listen to me, you have to go back to your home and to your kindred. And he said, but God, I greatly fear this Esau. I fear that he will kill me. Now Jacob took up his family and en route, and then the Bible said an angel visited. Exactly. What did the angel say to him? You know that Esau down the road is coming. I met with Esau, and Esau is coming to meet you. And guess what? Esau a 400 man. The Bible said Jacob felt greatly afraid. He said, God, I am sorely afraid of Esau. If he comes against me, he might kill me and my wife and my children.
Exactly. God, he was less.
He was less. God, you have to do something. One of the things we have to acknowledge that, listen, on my side, I have wronged. I have to go to God and say, listen to me, God, fix this for me. Exactly. Clear the path so that I can go to the person and make amends. Mark 6 verse 14 says, if you forgive other people, then God will what? Forgive you.
And that is so important because first of all, step 4 says we have to determine whether or not you will forgive.
Yes.
Right? You have to make space for the freedom and the liberation and the inhabitation of the presence of the Lord that you want in your life. Because what you need to understand is that unforgiveness buffets freedom and buffet worship and buffet being in the presence of God. But importantly, what persons don't understand is that we can fool other people sometimes. But one person we can't, two persons we can't fool actually. We can't fool ourselves and we can't fool God. And what God says is that if we have a heart against our brother,
you need to go and talk
you need to go and make it up. You know, there are other people who are rejoicing in churches. I mean, falling in and falling out. And after church over, they would never turn to the left. Because Sister Agatha, as long as I'm in this church, I'm not interacting with her. The reality is that you're not going anywhere. You are like a sounding brass and a tinkling cymbal. Because love covers, like you rightfully say, a multitude of sin. One of the strongest gifts of love is forgiveness. It is a restorer of the breach.
That's where I was going. Because look at it. And things follow vine and things follow your bloodline. Jacob had to seek amends from Esau.
Right.
Then Jacob went and had, his name was changed to Israel. Right. And he had 12 children, and one of them was Joseph. Joseph's brother hated him, faked his death. Joseph went into the pit, to the prison, and to the palace.
Exactly.
And then Joseph had to extend what? Mercy. But this is where I'm going. Sometimes people forgive us. And we, because we know what we did, still live in a guilty place.
Right.
Because the brothers felt that it is because that, listen, our father is still alive, that Joseph is still showing us kindness.
And not because of their own
and not
relations.
Because of relations. And really and truly, Joseph is coming from a pure heart and saying, listen, you did me wrong, but in the wrong it was meant for my good. Because there was a part in the Bible that Joseph named his children after his situation. Manasseh and Ephraim.
That's correct.
He said he got Manasseh and he called him Manasseh because God got him to forget his toil and his house. And then he named him Ephraim because God caused him to be fruitful in his affliction.
Exactly. That's just amazing. You know, sometimes things happen to us, and we can have another program about that because that is so powerful. Sometimes in our afflictions and sometimes in our hurt and our pain, it is also a period of restoration.
Oh my.
And I want to say something that we have to determine whether or not we will forgive. And this is just, I want to take a nice little swing at this. This discussion is so good. Right. We need to have a sip. It is so good. This coffee is really good. Miss Caroline is doing an excellent job.
Amen.
But you know what? When we talk about the matter of forgiveness, we need to understand this, that as we said earlier on, the first stage of forgiveness is yourself. So in the process, when we consider what is it that we're hurt about, accept our situation and determine whether or not we'll forgive. Before we start the repair, I want to bring in this story about the prodigal son.
Oh my.
He made a decision to go. But it was while he was in the pigsty that he had to now say to himself, I will forgive myself of my wrong. He could have been so caught up in his pride that he said, listen, yo, I'm not going back, you know.
And I like how you said the word pride, because to continue in an unforgiveness state, you're prideful.
Exactly so. Oh, me? Never.
And now come down.
But artist spirit, a artist spirit. I mean, I miss so and so. Anybody must come to who? But the bigger person is a person who is willing to go down, because you're going to bring up that person and you're going to show that, listen, when it comes to heart, you have a bigger heart and your heart condition is at a better place. So to all of our viewers, if there's any commitment that you want to make for the year 2022, is that, listen, Hatred Street, Malice Street, I'm not going down there. I want to be free. One thing COVID has taught us, this period of the pandemic has taught us some truth. Nobody knows when is our next last hug or last goodbye. We don't know. Why not enjoy life? Release the things that has held us captive. Tasha Cobb said, I'm no longer a slave. We don't want to be walking with our hands free, but our spirit and our emotion are entangled. Who the Son set free is free indeed. And many people today are shackled because of unforgiveness in their spirit.
Forgiveness.
So we have to determine that we want to forgive and begin the repair.
And some people might say, yes, I hear you and I understand what you're saying. And it's easier said than done, but it only gets easy when you decide to make that step. You have to choose. Do I want to live free? Do I want to live in bondage? What kind of legacy do I want to pass on to people around me? What kind of image of a person would I want to portray? Do I want to portray a Christ-like image? Or do I want to be somebody that is in bondage?
What are the things about unforgiveness and anger? It gives you a face.
Oh, Jesus. I don't want to say it, but they say set your face like a flint.
Yeah.
But people with forgiveness really set that, because when you see them, say, listen,
Back off.
back off. Don't
Stay-
come near me.
Caution.
I don't like you.
Right.
We have something going on.
Yeah, and it's not love.
Oh, Jesus.
All right. So we have to repair. Repairing takes a little while, as Shan said a while ago, and we have to learn as we go along. And sometimes some of us put ourselves in a place of being
Yes.
hurt, and then when we get hurt, we want to blame other persons. So one of the things that we want to look at, so we have looked at the 7 steps. We have looked at the whole matter of step 1. It means to acknowledge. Then step 2, consider, accept. Then determine whether or not we will forgive, because some people they die going to their grave,
graves.
right? With this person who is ignorant of the fact that they were upset.
Yes.
And then we repair. We say repair is gradual, and we learn how to go on, and then we forgive. Now, before we wrap up, I want us to understand that we take this issue very, very seriously, because there are some benefits as well as there are some disadvantages of not forgiving people. So what are some of these benefits? Healthier relationships.
Yes.
The longer you keep it, the more the relationship get worse. Another thing is that your mental health. And this is something that I have been purporting, that our mental health in this season, some people are vexed with COVID, Them vexed with, if COVID was a person, they would have did about 100 times.
It's true.
Right?
And we're guilty of killing him too.
Yeah, and they're vexed with the prime minister, they're vexed with the pastor, vexed with the children. Everything is just, but we have to learn to move beyond it, because our mental health is very important. And somebody said to me the other day, which one is more important, mental health or physical health? But they're so interconnected, and one affects the other. When you forgive, it also speaks about you're less anxious, because no, I'm not mindful if I'm looking forward to hug you. I'm looking forward to engage in you.
You're looking forward to go free.
Yeah, to be free. So there's less anxiety, less stress, and less hostility.
And it lowers your blood pressure. I like that one.
You can imagine I go to park, right? And when I go to park and somebody that don't forgive, I have to circle the entire parking lot now because I'm trying to get a park. Oh no! In fact, sometimes you have to just show up.
Yes.
Park right there, so because they're gonna park there and do something deliberate. Yeah.
To start it.
And I want to set a couple, so there's a little strategy. Sometimes when you really want to engage in the conversation, do something deliberate.
And the heart race,
Yes. that's why the blood pressure go up. You have to do something that is deliberate. So you're cooking nice dinner, right? And you offer to serve.
Yes. But you never know.
But change the mood. Listen. For God so loved the world, even within our sinful state, that He gave His only begotten Son.
And as you say, for God so loved the world, we have a structure to pray, and one of the structures is to glorify God. That's where you start to tell God that, oh God, you're good and you're great and we magnify you and you're sovereign. Mm-hmm. And then it goes down to the part that says, Lord, forgive me of my sins. Lord, I pray for your mercies today. That's the part I want to go. We ask God for mercy, but then we don't want to extend mercy when mercy is really, we asking God, say, Lord, if me sin, I may not know, forgive me.
Right.
So let us just have mercy wherever we go. Be merciful if you want to obtain mercy.
And mercy will always be something that all of us need. We always have to have it so that I can give and you can extend to me. This is so good. So we must also understand that forgiveness gives us a stronger immune system, because what a lot of persons don't understand is that stress is really the body's response to the physiological and the emotional things that are happening. Exactly what is happening in our bodies. So we have to know how to manage and navigate our way through life, because things are going to happen
all the time.
Things are going to happen. I mean, no matter how you say, boy, I'm married to this person because we're compatible. No two persons are the same.
And then, if it's right there, seeking whom he can divorce.
Yeah, there are no two persons that are the same. and we're relational beings. We have to relate to people.
Yes.
So they're always going to be the lady. The lady, she's
misunderstanding.
always going to show up.
Yes.
But we have to be vigilant, being mindful at all times that the weapons
Of
of our warfare, they're not carnal, but they're mighty through God. So the pulling down of strongholds, and some of those strongholds that are in our lives are unforgiveness. It is not worth it.
Yes.
For your own sake, it is not worth it. I'd rather be seen, be rated by someone as being, boy, she weak, No, I'd rather do that just to make sure that my heart is clean and I am free, not just because I'm a Christian, but because as a person, it is a healthy. There's a commercial that says, I don't remember which thing, but it says it's a good, healthy habit.
Yes. I can't pick up now, but
it's a good, healthy habit, and we should pick it up. As we wrap up, also, I want to remind you that it is when you are a person who learns to forgive, it improves your self-esteem.
Yes.
Shandas, in your closing, what do you want to say to our viewers?
I want to say to somebody today in Violin that, listen, forgiveness helps you to have that peace of mind. You want the peace that passes all understanding? Have forgiveness in your heart. Give it and receive it.
Well, the weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is the attitude and the attribute of a strong person. I believe forgiveness is the best form of love in any relationship. It takes a strong person to say sorry, and even a stronger person to forgive. That's by Yolanda added. For all our viewers out there today, why not march forward into the new year free, lighter than you enter? And the first step is to forgive those that have wronged you, not just for their sake, but more importantly, for your sake and for the Father's sake. Until next time, let's continue to sip and chat.